Alright, so let's start with good news. Now that I'm done with school, you'll be getting more videos. Solo videos like this, comic reviews, stuff like that. Just things that come into my head. Hey, I should do a video on that. Right now I've got my laptop open here. You'll see me going back to that as kind of notes because I just posted a very, very angry, very ranty series of tweets about this piece of shit that's in the title. Batman EndGame. Oh my god! This is awful! Wait a minute, is 35 even part of EndGame, or am I going crazy? Yeah, it is. Okay. This is so bad! I don't know where to really begin. I've not really loved Scott Snyder. The joke I was making for the longest time was he's Diet Grant Morrison. And then Zero Year came around, and I didn't back off of that, but I felt it less. I'm like, yeah, this is really reminiscent of, No Man's Land and some of the stuff I've read with Riddler that's better. But it was a good take on Riddler, and Steve and Alex kind of brought me around a little bit. They made the argument that it's very, it's very tribute-y. It's not direct ripoff. And so I was kind of really willing to look past it and go, okay, so that's what I've been picking up on is he's paying tribute to all these other great Batman writers and stuff. And then this just proved everything that I felt already. And so I do not make this claim lightly. I do not say this is not me being hyperbolic or anything. This is exactly how I feel. Scott Snyder is a plagiarist. And that's a really harsh thing to say about a comic book writer, and especially me. I'm the guy that's all like, oh, every idea's already been done, it's making it your own. And I believe that. I do. But he doesn't make it his own. What Scott Snyder does is he takes really great stuff from other Batman writers, and maybe he does this with his other stuff. I don't know. I haven't read his other stuff, to be fair. But what he does is he takes stuff from really great Batman writers and then just throws it into his stories. And the reason his stories are successful is because that stuff is working again. They are not good on their own. If you take out the stuff that he's... And again, I don't use this word lightly. If you take out the stuff that he's plagiarizing, he's a really, really bad writer. So I'm going to go through here kind of issue by issue and just talk about the individual issues real quick. Okay, so we have Batman number 34. Sorry, the cover it's a Halloween cover. Anyway, it opens strong. Like, this is a really good opening book, and this is what I think people really like about Scott Snyder's Batman, is it's got a much more light-hearted... Batman smiles. That's why people like Scott Snyder's Batman, is they feel like it's an original take because Batman smiles. And I get that. I understand why that's appealing. But guess what? Grant Morrison's Batman smiles. And that's the thing, this Scott Snyder's Diet Grant Morrison. What else works about this issue? The Justice League fight. And that goes into EndGame Part 2. The Justice League fight and the Superman fight is what works about these issues. But you know what? It's been done. The reason it works is because it worked before in Tower of Babel. And even there, it wasn't done very well. I'd maybe say that what he does with the Batman fighting the Justice League stuff here is better than Tower of Babel, and of course better than, God, what was it? The animated movie that was loosely based off of Tower of Babel. It's Justice League Doom, there we go. It's slightly, like, the way in which Batman beats everyone is better, but in and of itself, no, this isn't better than anything that's been done before with it. I think it's just really, really awful as it goes on, and the more you think about it, the more it's like, yeah, he's just taking from other writers that are better than him, and that's driving me crazy because people give him all this credit. Like, alright, so this is the Superman issue here, where it's basically the first couple pages of the issue are dedicated to Superman fight, and here in this part we get the, sorry, I'm looking in a mirror to see my shot because I'm shooting on DSLR. Here in this part we get Batman with, red suns as brass knuckles, and that's genius. But you know what? Feels like Frank Miller to me. It's not original. The stuff I'm enjoying about the issues are not Scott Snyder's original ideas. That's what makes me feel like he's just a plagiarist. He's just capitalizing on other people's ideas. Then we have the Batman Annual, which isn't Scott Snyder. It's a Joker one-shot. It's a Joker one-shot story, and Joker's written better in here than he is in the rest of Scott Snyder's run on the book. It's bad. It's like, this isn't even very good Joker one-shot, but it's still better than everything else Scott Snyder does. So I'm going to throw that one aside. Endgame Part 3, what happens here? Oh, okay, this one, the toxin starts to spread all over the city. Yeah, this is awful, too. I have no idea what's going on from scene to scene. The backups in this book suck. The backup stories with the deluded prisoners talking, that's just awful. Don't even bother reading it. No, this just... It gets worse as it goes on for me. Like, Steve and Alex were saying that they really enjoyed the lead-up issues, and I guess I could see why, but just the way in which he's presenting the character here doesn't work for me at all. Scott Snyder just doesn't seem to get the Joker. His Batman is somewhat passable. I don't love it, but I see what he's doing. I've seen it done better, but it's at least passable for me. Whereas his Joker, it's just he doesn't get the point of it. And it's weird because this whole book is supposed to be about the true power and the fear that the Joker inspires and all that stuff. And he just doesn't do it very well. It's the next issue where the thing picks up. I will give it this much: the cliffhangers are well done. So anyway, here we have the issue where actually shit, it was that issue. Oh well, I've thrown it down on the floor because that's where it belongs. So this is the issue where Gordon shot Joker in the previous issue, and now Joker apparently got up and killed him. And this is the issue where we find out that Joker's apparently Wolverine. Because fuck it, why not? And this is what I mean by he misses the point of the Joker. The Joker is just as human as Batman is. What's amazing about Batman is that he goes toe-to-toe with guys like Superman and Darkseid, and he comes out on top because he's Batman. And that's what's impressive about Joker. They are, at their center, the same person. They're the same kind of individual. They just have radically different and diametrically opposed viewpoints on how to deal with their outlook on the world. They even have the same outlook, but they just don't agree on how to handle that and how to react to their view of the world. And that's what he doesn't get here, is making Joker super powered healer and alluding that he's this force that's been around in Gotham for hundreds of years. And look at that shit. Oh, he's coming up in all these different historical photos. And like, okay, and you can say, oh well, they contradict that by the end of it. It turns out that's not really true. Well, then they don't explain this shit. It's still really bad. This is just awful. I've never read a worse Batman story. And I've definitely never read a worse Joker story. It just doesn't get the core of the character. The point is that the Joker is just a guy. Just a really creepy guy. Like, occasionally he can have some level of superpower as long as it's a passive ability, not something that's actively helping him. Like, I've seen before that his blood is, like, toxic to people if they ingest it. And, like, fine, whatever. It doesn't really matter. You can't use that in a fight, really. You can't use that to beat Batman, because he's going to be immune to it, obviously, because he's Batman. But this crap about him being immortal or something, about him having fucking Wolverine regeneration abilities, is stupid. It's awful. It's so bad. And I don't feel like I'm giving enough reasons why it's bad. It's just, it doesn't work. It's fundamentally not Joker. Create your own character, Scott Snyder. Oh, that's right, you can't because you have to steal from other people. It's just, I hate it. This scene. Really good scene. I actually really enjoyed the idea of Joker breaking into the Batcave and stealing all the trophies, but you know what this looks exactly like? Batman 89. Someone else's idea. Touched up by Scott Snyder. Maybe that's what he's good at. He's good at adapting things. He's good at retooling things slightly and putting them into his own stories. But what's working about it isn't the retooling. It's just taking some problems or slightly touching up better ideas. Like he'll take, for example, Joker having a parade through the middle of Gotham. Great idea in Batman 89. There are a number of reasons why it doesn't work, and you've had 20 some odd years of retrospect to figure out why that is. So what does Scott Snyder do? He figures out why it is, and then he puts it in his book. It's not good, though. It's just the same. I've seen the same thing, and it doesn't work in here now, because I've seen this before. It doesn't matter if you polish it up a little bit. That doesn't make it good. Yeah, it's just so bad. And then this stupid villain team-up crap that comes out of nowhere. What, did Joker just decide not to infect the other Rogues Gallery members for some reason? Because the script's on his side? It's just so awful. And then Dick comes in at the end of the next issue, or beginning of the next, I don't know, I got this all sealed up, whatever. Dick comes in at the next issue, and it's revealed that he's Batman, and Joker magics his way down to the caves of Gotham to fight Batman for this fucking mystical, non-Lazarus pit crap that's apparently keeping the Joker alive. I just hate it. It's just awful. Let me look through my notes here. Okay, my god, I think EndGame might be the hands-on the worst Batman Joker story I've ever read. Okay, I agree with that still. No need to elaborate there. It's like he spends all these issues talking about the nature of the Joker, but doesn't even kind of get the character. Talk about that. Giving the Joker superpowers automatically, unless you put Batman on an even playing field, automatically eliminates the point of the Joker. Unless you put Batman on an even playing field, or you do something with it that's actually interesting, instead of just making Joker better at his things like Emperor Joker did. And even then, that's still a pretty bad story. So no, out. Still crap. I'm calling it. Unless he's dumbing down or tightening up other people's stories, Scott Snyder doesn't know how to write Batman. I still agree with that. Steve, tweeted me a bunch of things, and hi Steve, I'm sure you're watching this. Steve tweeted me a bunch of replies to this, and he said, yeah, but the Batman he writes is much more like some of the Golden Age stuff, or like the Batman show, and I agree, because he's stealing it. He's a plagiarist. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. It's not a matter of he's not writing my Batman. I enjoy his Batman reasonably. His Batman's okay. It's fairly well grounded. His Joker's way too scientific. I get the Joker has to have chemist abilities to a certain extent, but just everything he's doing in this it's so intricately planned out and stuff. It just doesn't work. It doesn't feel like Joker. It feels like a completely different character. And hey, maybe if Scott Snyder wanted to write a character called the Chemist, that could be really interesting, but you don't get to throw your own character onto the Joker. The only good part of EndGame was the Justice League fight, and that's just a touch-up of Tower of Babel. Yep, already talked about that. That's just bad. It's just terrible. I get that people like the more optimistic take on Batman, but there's better stuff out there that does that shit. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the whole point of Grant Morrison's Batman, who, as I've accused Scott Snyder of this ever since he started the book back at the beginning of New 52. All he's done is take what Grant Morrison did, dumb it down, and put it back out there. Court of Owls is the Black Glove. Death of the Family is Batman number 663. What else was there? It's not coming to me, but yeah, name a Scott Snyder Batman run, and it's either Grant Morrison or it's 0 Year is No Man's Land, and Year One mixed into one story. It's not good. Like that one's the only passable one because he uses Riddler, who has a criminally low amount of stories out there for him. So, you know, if it weren't for the fact that Riddler's the only thing that saves 0 Year in my mind. Because otherwise it'd just be No Man's Land, and I'm getting tired of seeing the same stories from this guy. Scott Snyder, write your own stuff that's not this, because this is, to be fair, his most original story to date. EndGame is Scott Snyder's work that doesn't call back to all these other better Batman stories. I'll give you that. And it's bad. This is how he writes Batman. If people are disappointed in this last issue, that's Scott Snyder's Batman. He is no less Batman in this than he is in all the other things. The Joker is written exactly the same in this as he is in all the other issues, all the way back into Death of the Family. This is Scott Snyder when he's not borrowing, like, the entire structure of the plot. And as you can tell, it's awful. I might pull a real Manos and see if I can sell these books back. And I might. And his run is still going. Here's the thing, the 40th issue there, it ends with them looking for another, like, saying that there's going to be another Batman now, and Bruce's note saying, ha, that's his goodbye, and Alfred's got his fucking hand chopped off. That's... it's so bad. The idea of another Batman, once again, Morrison, Dick Grayson, even if it's not going to be Dick Grayson, still... That we're gonna have a whole thing, Batman's dead, and we're gonna have a whole thing about who gets to carry the cape and cowl. It goes right back to Morrison again. Let's see here, what else? Why do people hold this crap up as the direction DC should be taking? Am I the only one who thinks this is awful? I really hope not. I really hope to see some comments. Okay, camera cut out on me, so now we're just going to audio, and I'm almost done, so that's fine. I really hope to see some comments that say that people agree with me here, that this is really terrible, and I hope that I'm not alone in seeing the shit that he's posting here. What else? So, like, the other point Steve brought up, and I do feel like I have to tear that argument down too, is, like Morrison... It's a smaller scope of what Morrison was doing, and Morrison used a lot of callbacks and things, so Steve doesn't feel like it's plagiarism the same way Morrison wasn't plagiarism. Here's the thing. Morrison took a lot of old Batman themes and classic Batman moments, and then turned them on their head or reversed them. You can see this at the very beginning of his run, in, what is that, 665, no, wait, it's in the 500s, I'm sure, of his 620 something, of his Batman run, where he's carrying Joker in the same way that he carried Jason Todd Robin when he died. If you look at Batman and Robin, when Dick Grayson offered Jason Todd to join him, to let him help him and get him out of this slump that he was in, Jason Todd pulls all the exact same poses from The Killing Joke and says, no, I just can't do it. And there's a very intentional juxtaposition. The entire Batman and Robin book, under Morrison, of course, the entire book was just a serious Robin and a jokey Batman. It's very much intentionally juxtaposing and turning things on their head and reversing things. That was the entire point of Morrison's run, and it worked brilliantly. So no, Morrison isn't just reusing the plot elements. What Snyder's doing is he's taking these same plot points and tweaking it up a little bit so it's not problematic like we saw back in the original stories, and then putting his name on it. It's just slightly editing a story is not any less plagiarism. Stealing a paper online, fixing some typos, and handing that in to a professor doesn't get you off the hook for plagiarism. It's awful. It's just so ridiculously bad, and I cannot stand him. I don't know if I fully explained my problem with the Joker in this, but I feel like my point about the Joker and Batman being the same is really important, and they're not at all in this. They're not even kind of close, and that's the problem. If you want a more comprehensive views on my views of Batman and Joker's duality, there's an older video on my channel. I'll link it down below. Milan did a reading of some fan fiction I wrote a while back. So yeah, there's my Endgame rant, and God, the ultimate slap in the face is that he named a story Endgame, and it's not the end of his run. Fucking Scott Snyder. Except you had to explain it to me. If you have to explain a joke, there is no joke!